I feel like there's certain themes in my storytelling that I go back to over and over again. And I had this wonderful mentor who was kind of a luminary in the field. I got some like a brief period of my life where I got to sort of sit with her. And one of the things that she really got on me about was she was like, Turner, I'm gonna need you to tell me a better story. And she was like always saying that I had this tendency to portray myself as the underdog of my stories. And mostly she was talking about in terms of being the lovelorn, you
Yeah.
know, Shannon, the friend girl,
Yeah.
having crushes on guys. And I think that unrequited love is one of those themes that I have a tendency to go back to. And I'm sort of making that a reality over and over again by telling those stories. So
Yes.
I feel like, in the same way, going back and looking at this period of my life where I was scrapping, as I say, wandering, I'm doing that because I'm wanting to look at this journey with purpose
Yeah.
and compare and contrast it with today. And I'm doing that for a lot of reasons, not just for myself, but I kind of feel like we're still hanging under the malaise of the pandemic. And I'm wanting a lot of things to happen because of the project. But I just started thinking about it under a different light of like, what does it mean for me to go back and think about those stories? And maybe it is about giving it a different lens of like helping myself see the trajectory of like, what is the ending of that story?
Yeah.
Like how did I build out of it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I love that because I definitely feel that sense of creating, we, we're creating versions of ourselves. We're creating versions of fact and versions of who we are and versions of who other people are. Like we're creating that. And then we're perpetuating it or manifesting it or whatever, right? And there's power in that. And then there's also, well, there's power in that period. And so then how we use that power, I think is really fascinating. The idea of the or the focus of, maybe it's not manufactured, but the focus of the being the underdog. Well, maybe it's not like, now the word facet comes to mind, and I think of it as the crystal of all these different sides, and which side do we choose to focus on or emphasize, right? Like which side of the many facets? I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And then do we discover, as the stories we tell sort of morph or further develop, how does our relationship with those stories change depending on how those stories are received by others? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and we can't really influence how stories are perceived by others. That's a hard part of it.
Well, received by others.
Hmm.
Yeah.